It is time to play one of my favorite games at work and on conference call. We call that Stakeholder Bingo. And so think about it. Every project has this whole mix of characters who show up on meetings, who show up on calls, and they keep things interesting. And you don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they'll delay something, maybe they'll help, maybe they'll derail, or just randomly disagree. And so because that behavior is unpredictable, but it's also hilariously consistent, right? You're always going to get somebody like that on one of the meetings. Stakeholder bingo is probably a good game to play, and that's where you sort of inventory all of your stakeholder types, as you can see on the right, and when they sort of reenact their role, you cross them off and maybe you win. And so bingo's not really about luck, it's about recognizing the signs and sort of seeing what kind of characters you're going to show up. And I guess if you get a full row, then your prize is having a headache. So let's meet some of the contestants that show up on these cards. On the call, you might have the scope creeper, right? And they just, what if we just add one minor thing, like a whole new system? You'll get the late approver, right? They disappear before deadlines. You never see them again, and then they sort of come back, right before something's due, and try to add something in. The ghost one is my favorite. They're on the invites, they attend meetings, you don't really see them, but then after the meeting is over, they have a whole bunch of opinions. You might have the high-level executive that wants to debate the finest level of detail, like the color of the buttons. There's always the historian who talks about projects from 10 years ago and what worked and what didn't. Don't forget the fire starter that declares the emergencies, which probably aren't necessarily an emergency. And then my favorite is the didn't know about this person who is constantly claiming they don't know or they weren't part of something that they absolutely were. So that's just a few of the kind of stakeholders that show up on your meetings and on your bingo card. And so how to play is, when somebody derails the agenda, you cross them off. The free space is when somebody says, let's circle back, because they're not going to. But if you fill the first row before the status update is finished, maybe you win the bonus. And if somebody asks, are we sure this is a priority? Then you automatically win. And so again, winning isn't the goal, surviving is. So a little bit of fun, but as we know on projects, stakeholders are chaotic. At times they can keep the project entertaining, and you have to be sort of humorous, recognizing, these different types and the different patterns. So maybe you can predict them or manage them, or come prepared for the meeting as opposed to just reacting, right? Because the goal isn't, you're not going to be able to avoid the chaos or control how people react. It's about sort of navigating it through and being able to meet your accomplishments and your objectives of your agenda. And so, recognize that each stakeholder is different. So go forth, bingo player, and may your card stay mostly empty.